Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, a few days ago I released a video with this guitar here, my Rickenbacker 330, where I was converting it from the modern wiring setup of 330k pots all round to a more vintage correct 250ks in the volumes and 500ks in the tones. And as you will have hopefully heard, that created some very subtle but different results. But also in that video I showed you the two vintage correct wiring setups for a Rickenbacker, and basically the only difference between them was the presence of a 0.0047 capacitor, and that cap is the subject of much debate online. Now, when we think of a capacitor in a guitar tone circuit, we almost always think of it as wired in parallel off the pickup, or the switch in the case of a Rickenbacker, to the tone pot. And the effect that has is, as we wind the tone pot down, it acts as a variable low pass filter. So you turn the tone knob down, it shelves off more and more high end to the point you're left with that very muffled woman tone thing. So it's a variable low pass filter. But when you wire the capacitor in series, it kind of has the opposite effect, and it acts as a fixed high pass filter and dumps low end to ground. Now, the amount of low end it gets rid of is dependent on the value of the capacitor, and the lower the value of the capacitor, the more low end it gets shut off. So having a 0.0047 capacitor in a Rickenbacker gets rid of a lot of low end off the bridge pickup. And the problem I was facing after shooting that video was I liked the sound with the capacitor and I liked the sound without the capacitor, but I didn't like either enough over the other to commit to one in terms of wiring the guitar. I wanted access to both. And that's something that a lot of people have found over the years. And what a lot of people do, and I believe Rickenbacker do this themselves on their basses, is they use a push-pull pot on the volume. So you can have your slightly thicker sound or pull it up, engage the capacitor, and get the thin vintage sound. Now, for me personally, I really don't like push-pull pots, but I wanted access to both of those sounds. So what I've done is I've changed the wiring of this guitar a little bit, and I've basically got rid of the fifth control. Because what the fifth knob is on a Rickenbacker, basically, they call it the blend control, that's kind of what it's doing, is it adds a resistance the more you wind that pot down onto the output of the neck pickup. And the effect that has is it makes the neck pickup a little bit quieter. So it's kind of a volume control for the neck pickup. Because in vintage Rickenbackers, and still today with these high gain pickups they're using now, they are exactly the same component. They are the same pickup with the same DC resistance and the same output. But the problem with that is the bridge pickup is right next to the bridge, and there's not that much movement of the string next to the bridge. It sounds brighter, but there's not that much actual movement going on. Whereas where the neck pickup is, there is a lot more lateral movement. And when you have the same specification of pickup and there's more lateral movement going on, the real world effect of that is it generates a hotter signal. So the neck pickup sounds a lot louder than the bridge. So the blend control exists to kind of allow you to dial the neck pickup down so it's more in line with the bridge, and you can then use your other four controls as you would on any normal guitar. But what I found is I wasn't using the blend control when I was playing, so it was kind of redundant to have it in my guitar. But also the pickups that I'm going to put in here, which you will have already seen but they haven't arrived here at the time of filming this video because I'm going to release them in a backwards order, are some vintage correct toasters. But I've ordered them as a balanced set. So the bridge pickup will be hotter than the neck pickup. So essentially the problem that the blend control exists to combat won't exist anymore, and I wasn't using it anyway. So I was going to just disconnect the blend control and have it as a dead control. But what I decided to do was put this two-way toggle switch in here to engage that capacitor. So that gives me access to both of those vintage correct sounds with and without the cap. And as a slight side note, it is an absolute nightmare to find a two-way toggle switch that fits into the same size hole as a CTS pot. I think the bushing is 3/8 of an inch, about 1 centimetre. You can't find them anywhere. It took me days to find this thing, but eventually I found it and it's now in the guitar. So I can show you in real time the exact effect that having that capacitor in line makes to the bridge pickup. So I'm just going to play a couple of things and engage the capacitor to show you exactly what tonal effect it has. So you can very clearly hear there that with the capacitor in line, it really thins out the sound of that pickup. It sounds a little bit quieter, but that is the classic Rickenbacker sound. It's arguably not as versatile as without the capacitor with a slightly thicker low end, but when you think of those old sort of Tom Petty songs, that sounds right compared to that sounds too beefy. So it's the classic sound. But as I said, I wanted access to both of them, and having that switch really makes it worthwhile for me, having that capacitor in the guitar, and I can just flip between the two sounds. But it's also important to note the effect that capacitor has on the middle pickup position when you're running both of them together. Now, it's slightly counterintuitive here because by having that capacitor in line, it takes some of the bridge pickup signal away, but as a result, there's less signal there to kind of phase cancel against the neck pickup. So the guitar actually sounds thicker with the capacitor that gets rid of low end because the neck pickup becomes more dominant. So have a little listen to that. So that's important to bear in mind if you're wanting to go one way or the other in terms of how you hardwire the guitar without a switch or a push-pull pot. If you like the sort of quackiness of that middle pickup position sound with the two together, you'll get more quack and less thickness by not having that capacitor in line. So an important note there. But anyway, folks, that is the effect that the capacitor has on a vintage Rickenbacker. So please do comment underneath, let me know whether you liked the cap or whether you didn't. Did you like the middle sound with or without the cap? I love chatting nerdy guitar stuff with you folks down in the comment section. But for now, thank you ever so much for watching, folks. I hope this video was interesting and useful for you. Please do carry on subscribing. I know I always say it, but it makes a huge difference when you hit subscribe. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.